Hello, friends. Welcome to another episode of the True You Consciousness podcast. In today's episode, we are going to be exploring the question, who am I? What an amazing question. Who am I? And if you're listening to this, I'm guessing you've probably explored this question many, many times before now. But I just think it's a beautiful question to explore within ourselves. And so I want to start by talking about who we are not. We are not our thoughts and feelings, at least not totally. Our thoughts and feelings are an aspect of who we are. They're part of the human experience, but they're a very, very limited aspect of who we are. And I would call this our limited self, our separate sense of self, our conceptual self, our conditioned self, right? It's a very limited aspect of who we are. So there's so much more to us. There's so much more depth beyond our sense of being our thoughts and feelings, of being a separate individual that's separate from the rest of the world. And so most of us, I would say even today, most people are fully identified as being their thoughts and feelings, right? Like their deep sense within themselves is that they are their thoughts and feelings. And so some people, right, are who I would say who probably won't even listen to this podcast ever, maybe in the future when they awaken. But some people on the planet are fully 100% of their waking moments of being alive. Their lived experience is that of being their thoughts and feelings. There is nothing else. There's absolutely nothing else. And that's all they know, right? And that's a life that's largely, full of struggle and suffering and survival, right? And there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. I mean, that's just part of the human journey here on planet Earth. But for those of us who have had an awakening experience, or we're on the awakening path, the spiritual path, right? We have discovered that there's something more. There's something more than this aspect of us that is just thoughts and feelings. There's a deeper part of us, right? And so this capacity that we have as human beings, this sense of I, our capacity to self-reflect, the conceptual, right? Just our thoughts, the collection of thoughts that we have as human beings, a lot of which are, our ideas about who we are, about who other people are, about life, right? This creates this profound sense of separation. It's the conceptual that actually creates the sense, the identification with separation. right? Like if you right now you're listening to this, you look out into the world, there's probably there's a sense of a very solid reality, right? Very, very solid, dense reality. You are a person listening to me speak or watching this video, right? There's a sense of, and we're two separate people. There's a deep, deep, deep conditioned sense of separation. There's a me and there's an outside world. So just notice right now if there are lots of thoughts arising. Maybe you're processing right now what I'm saying in your mind. Your mind is busy right now, analyzing, trying to figure out, trying to understand what I'm saying. Right? But it feels like you. It's you. Your sense of it is that it's you processing. It's your thoughts. It's who you are. They're arising inside of your head, inside of your brain, inside of your mind. It's you. Well, I'm here to tell you that that actually isn't you. It's not the true you. It's not the deeper you. It's not the limitless you. It's mostly conditioning. It's mostly distortion, right? So it through our conceptual realm, all of our thoughts, right? There's a lot of distortion in how we're seeing and viewing reality. It creates a lot of distortion in our interpretation, right? Our minds are a meaning-making machine. But our interpretation of reality isn't actually reality. It's simply an interpretation, a very, very limited interpretation and perception of actual reality, of what is. And so it's like we accumulate all kinds of knowledge and understanding and ideas and beliefs, right, as we move through life. And some of this stuff might even be passed on to us ancestrally or from past lifetimes. And we become deeply identified with that. It's actually our sense of who we are. But all of it simply just creates a very limited perception of reality. And it blocks our access to the deeper truth of who we are. So the more we have figured out, the more we understand about who we are, about life, right? The more kind of constricted and tight and limited our experience is going to be. So we want to loosen our grip on some of this stuff. And so this same thing applies to our emotions, right? Our feeling state, our emotions. It's the same thing, right? When, depending on what we're experiencing in any given moment, but our emotional state, right? It really, especially if you're deep inside of something, it really deeply feels like it's you. It feels very personal, like it's happening to you. It's all you, and it's right. There's no awareness. There's no space. So again, it is a part of who you are, but it's not the totality of who you are. But we live inside of this experience, most of us, a lot of people, most of the time, of that's all there is. That's who I am. Right? But it's just a very limited, surface level, temporary aspect of who you are. And so with our emotional states, right, there's always story. So I talked about our thoughts. We've got lots of story. There's always a story tied to our emotional state. And you know, those of us who are really deeply engaged with our minds and our thoughts like all day long, right? If you spend a little, or you know, just a moment noticing how you feel in your body, you'll probably notice there's a lot of constriction there, right? So our minds don't like to experience discomfort, and so whenever there's discomfort, which if with you know, a lot of us are habitually living in a state of kind of contraction, constriction, tightness. And so there's just a constant story, you know, our minds create a story to keep us distracted from the discomfort. And we're usually engaged in that story and we think it's true, we think it's real, we're identified with it, it's us. And so there's no space, there's no awareness. But even if you right now are just aware of your thoughts, like you're aware of what thoughts are arising, that's awareness. That's a step in, you know, into expanding and deepening into the truth of who you are. There's awareness there. It's like, oh, I'm aware. There's an awareness. What is it that's aware of me speaking right now? What is it that's aware of your thoughts? Right? There's actually some awareness. There's space. So you're not fully, wholly, completely identified with being your thoughts. And so why is this important? Like, why is it important that I'm even talking about this? Like, oh, who cares if we're identified with our thoughts and our feelings? And that's who we think we are. It's important that we break free from solely being identified as our thoughts and feelings, because this is how the expansion of consciousness happens. Right? There's space, there's awareness for evolution of consciousness through humanity and into tangible manifest form in reality on this planet. Because most, again, like I already mentioned this, a lot of the emotions, the stories, the thoughts, it's most of it is conditioning and patterns that repeat over and over and over again. Right? So we have to break free from the identification with that being us. And so this is really the key point I want to make, because this is really important. If you can realize the distinction and by realize, I don't mean understand it. I don't mean understand it intellectually. I mean actually realize it. have a deep sense of it within yourself, your own experience, your own observation. Right? Because, so, a lot of times when we're in the personal development industry, even the awakening realm, right? We're very, people are very focused on their thoughts and feelings, right? We spend, especially when we start on the awakening path, we're basically, what we're doing is we're chasing a feeling state, right? I'll use inner peace as an example, right? We're chasing inner peace. Oh, I want to feel peaceful, right? So it's like we're or we're avoiding a feeling. We experience discomfort. We have an awakening. We realize there's more, and so we're on this long journey, this spiritual awakening journey, to try to get to a place where, we're basically not accepting our discomfort. We're still kind of chasing a feeling state, avoiding discomfort. Ooh, I want to become enlightened so I never have to experience discomfort again. And I get everything I want. This is kind of the space, that the motivation that most people are inside of, at least when they start the path, and even sometimes for a long time. But this distinction I'm making right here is like the key that can change everything. When you really, really, really get this, that you are not actually your thoughts and feelings. You are so, the peace, the love, the potential, the creativity, the freedom, the liberation, the revelation, the ecstasy, all the stuff, that we're chasing after. Right? We spend years and years and years and years chasing it because we're identified with our thoughts and feelings. And because we're identified with our thoughts and feelings, we believe that we have to feel all of these things, to reach the to be awakened or enlightened, or to access our true self, right? It's like, oh, once I feel peaceful, once I feel love, once I feel bliss, once I feel free, then, wow, that's what enlightenment is. That's what being awake is. And so we chase after that. But that's not it. This is the most important revelation you could probably hear on the path. That's not it. Your true self, right? I'm talking about, who am I? We're exploring the question, who am I? You're not just the collection of thoughts and your emotional feeling state. Your true self exists at a depth, at a dimension beyond that. So you don't have to feel peaceful to be at peace. Right? The peace you're searching for has nothing to do with whether you feel peaceful. It has nothing to do with whether your thoughts are peaceful thoughts, or whether you have a quiet mind. So I hope, right? So what I just said is it. I want you to deeply, deeply, if it resonates, of course, if what I'm saying just has no resonance, then, don't worry about it. But if something about it is, if there's something inside you getting stirred up, right? Deeply contemplate that. Your true self exists beyond your feeling state and your thoughts. So when we really realize this, we no longer have to spend our time and energy in life trying to change and control and manipulate our experience and our thoughts and our feelings. Oh God, I gotta try and do things so that I can feel happy. I've got to write down a bunch of positive affirmations so that I only have positive thoughts. Right? Like a lot of people in the personal development industry, on the awaken, right? Like we get stuck inside of this because we're still identified as being our thoughts and feelings. So we think we need to change that part of ourselves to access our true self. But that part of ourself can't actually know our true self. Right? We have to actually stop, surrender. Surrender is a beautiful word. We have to surrender and stop giving that our attention and energy, our awareness to that part of ourselves. And when I say that, I'm really talking about the stories, right? So, I'm not suggesting you run from your emotions or anything like that. That's actually the total complete opposite of what I teach, right? I teach, you want to accept and fully allow and embrace whatever's arising for you to feel in any given moment. And the way we do that is by letting go of the story. Right? Not engaging with, not being in reactivity to the story associated with the emotions. Right? And like that's how we actually surrender. Surrender this limited aspect of ourselves such that we can access our true self. Right? It can't be known by the mind. Our minds can't know it. And so, right, even if you have, let's say sadness racing through your body, right? You're in a deep emotional state of sadness. We'll call it sadness as an example. You can actually be at peace. You can be loving in the midst of the sadness, right? That's the true you. So you want to allow the sadness to dissolve and melt into your love and your peace. That's how we access our true self. That's who we really are. And then something miraculous happens the more we do this. We start to rest. We start to become so utterly captivated by this aspect of ourself that exists beyond the limited, the crazy, non-stop mind, thoughts and the mind that's going all the time. We lose interest in that part of ourselves. Right? So it's not about controlling that part of ourselves or changing that part of ourselves. It's about losing interest in it and giving your attention and awareness and energy to the deeper aspect of who you are. And you start to rest in it. And it starts to penetrate and engulf and take over more and more of you and your awareness, your life's energy. You start to be moved by that and less concerned with what's going on in your mind, less concerned with what thoughts you're having. Right? So the peace, the deeper truth, clarity, freedom, that quality of consciousness that exists below the surface of the thoughts, that can't be known by the mind. Our understanding of it will never be it. but that quality is always already here. And so the journey is just to continue to remember and discover more and more and more of that. And we can't do it through our minds. We can't do it through accumulating knowledge and figuring things out and understanding. So that's really what I wanted to share today. I hope this was helpful. And as always, there's a couple links below if you want to schedule a free one-on-one discovery, deeper purpose discovery session with me, or you want to check out my State of Bliss course for free. Please feel free to do that. Say hello. Let me know what's opening up for you. Let me know if you have any questions, and I will see you in the next episode. Sending lots of love.